Guys, what's going on? Zach Evanesh. We're going to do a strong life chat here with JP Michael from M3 Strength and Conditioning down in Florida. JP's awesome. He's been a contributor to Josh Bryant's Jailhouse Strong books, and I just love what he's doing with the training of athletes, his own training. Smart guy, hardworking guy, just a real dude, so I'm looking forward. He's going to hop on here in a second, and then we're going to crush it. Those of you that are new here, make sure you go on over to zachstrength.com and get on the newsletter. Here we go. JP's going to hop on. And JP,
How you doing?
there we go, big dog.
Yeah, we're live. How you doing, sir?
We're good to go, my man. So I just did like a little intro. Hopefully I could pull the video. You know, Instagram has changed. The live videos go to your feed instead of your story. And I used to download these videos from like a Google Chrome add-on. So we're gonna roll from here. JP, how do I pronounce your last name properly?
Mikhael, M-I-K.
Yeah. So, man, you know, I first came across your work in one of Josh Bryant's books. You did a contribution to one of his Jailhouse Strong books. Maybe it was the first Jailhouse Strong book, I think.
I don't think it was his first one. I'm not sure. He said he's given me credit in a couple things, but I don't think it was his first one. It was one of his other books, but I know he says he wished he would have known me before he had did that book. But that's about around the time we started dating quite a bit. And he's been like really, I mean, we've done a bunch of videos on YouTube together.
Yes.
He actually did programming for me for a few powerlifting competitions as well too.
Yeah, I think then you were in the see if I don't have it on my desk. You were in his interval training book, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, it's probably one of like I've taken some of his workouts and flipped them and
Yes.
for like different. Then he's taking some of mine and we kind of just give each other credit back and forth. But what I like about Josh is he doesn't adhere to just like one system, you know, because a lot of people are more, I feel like a lot of people are more caught up in like what they do rather than like what I say is we'll shovel whatever we got to do to best result for the athlete. So
yeah,
there's a million ways to roam, you know.
100%. And you know, it's like I see how your kids are training. I see the speed work. I see the med ball throws. I see the barbell work. I see the isometric work. I feel like when you do one thing, if we're getting bored of it as coaches, you know, kids are even more eccentric. They are going to get bored. And I think it's like a natural periodization to go through barbell work, then go through like another cycle of doing kettlebells and calisthenics and med balls, and you get more of a long-term health effect from it.
Right. Yeah. I know that Limit Strength's the athletic foundation, and I know that me working with majority middle school and high school athletes, I keep in like the basics. So I'm a big trap bar, deadlift, front squat guy, bench press, overhead press, and I try to keep in those. That way we can quantify, but like the outside, the CNS ramp up, the power training, we'll get a variety of that. Or maybe we go to some floor presses. I like to have like 2 or 3 variants in there. I don't like to go so crazy to where you're switching up because I want to quantify. They need to get stronger. They need to add some weight to the bar. It's that simple. But, you know, when you get I'd probably say it just happened for me for 6 months ago. I mean, it was like I looked around. I was like, oh, crap, I got guys front squatting 385 that are juniors in high school. I was like, all right, now I'm spending more time, and I use the term slow cooking them, where I got to pull them back, kind of like, hey, we need to be able to do this when you're a senior so you can get a lot more offers and stuff rather than just running them in the ground, you know?
You know what's interesting that you say that is sometimes you get it, you know, an upperclassman, or maybe he's like real strong as an underclassman. They're coming up, and I'm just looking at your videos of the gym. It seems like there's a lot of strong kids. But every now and again, I've had an experience where I get one kid who's stronger than everybody else. he gets the big fish, little pond syndrome. And then like the kid starts coming 15 minutes late. He's saying he's at high school football weight room, but then the dad's like, he don't like that warm up. He don't like all the calisthenics. And then they don't realize, like, listen, sometimes you might be strongest with the barbell, but then we got to work on what you're weak at. I feel like a lot of it is the mental aspect. And you being down in Florida with, football, baseball, that's huge down there. Like, you're big fish in a little pond, but then when you're going to go to one of the big schools in Florida, it's like you're starting all over again.
True. So true. Absolutely right. And I think, yeah, absolutely. The cool thing is we just try to bring down that strength. That might come down to the second, third, or fourth thing we do. And now the kid can focus on some unilateral work or focus on his calisthenics. But yeah, I love the concept of exactly what you said, the big man movement and the little man movement. 9 times out of 10, you're strong with the barbell, but you're not as good with your body weight. So,
yeah. Or vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. It's like nowadays, you see these people online, it's like everybody thinks it's just one or the other. And it's like, man, you guys, it's a nice blend of it all. And most importantly, what I preach to these kids is, hey, once you practice your sport, become a beast at your sport, skill work, practice your sport. You got to become a monster at your sport. And unfortunately, that's how, for my son, I looked around and I was like, oh crap, man, this kid's becoming a monster in the weight room. Now we're able a lot more time to skill work.
Yeah, which is the toughest thing for us as the strength and performance coach with a son is the coaches are watching our boy. I've got a son and a daughter, and they want to see, like, they rate our training on what our kids do. And I messaged you the other day seeing your son training, and I was like, man, amazing, because I know how hard it is to try to train your own child. It's friggin' hard.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you, like, I forced him. The beautiful thing about it now is he's bought in fully, because at first, he kind of, he made his first touchdown in 8th grade as a receiver. And I was like, look, if you want to do this, let's go. You got to, all season, you got to start working. And I used to pull him in the gym 5 a.m. The worst thing you could do for a kid, because they hate it. But I seen after a year when he showed up for 9th grade football, and he had a 4.8 40, and here was a kid who ran like a 5.3. He had a 4.8 40. He showed up, he had the strongest power clean on his team, strongest trap bar deadlift, and he's a skill player, plays receiver, and he just, now it's like, I don't even have to get him up. He's ready to go. He knows this is paying off. He can out. So it pays off. But I tell parents all the time, I'm like, you've got to make your kids. Oh, he doesn't. You got to make them go. You've got to make them go. You have to push them. And then if they don't buy in within a year or two there, it's like, hey, they're grown. Do what you want to do. But the kids don't know what they want. They don't know what they need until they see it. And I'm not a skill coach, but I know just by simply getting them up to a 2 times body weight trap bar deadlift, getting them up front squatting 1.5 times his body weight, increase his ability to apply force against the ground. We didn't work on it. And then he goes out there and runs. He's a faster athlete. So your things has been able to help like crazy. And I think that's what people have seen him. And that's why I think my athletes, I have a lot more football players than I do any other athlete. So
that's interesting. I would have thought most private guys like us do not get a lot of football players because of the mandatory weight room.
Yeah. It's changed for me probably just like the past 6 months. Is the older he gets and the better he gets, now kids are like, oh man, this kid's just going in. He was like, he had a board at his high school where it had like 4 categories on the board. And he, as a freshman, was the 3rd highest person out of all the 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders. And I thought, that's pitiful. I was like, he's the 3rd strongest on the team as a freshman. And now telling me about the coach going off on the whole team. Like, hey, and now all of a sudden I'm getting more kids. And I think kids are just seeing him And that's the football thing's blown up because you're right. Before it was mainly soccer players, baseball. It was not football because those coaches, they all think they know what they're doing. 9 times out of 10, the skill coaches coaching strength.
Yes.
For me, also too, is I like I always say, I'm playing this chess match because I was like I used to train this kid 5 a.m. and I'm squatting him. This was years ago, and he's like, man, we're squatting 3 times a week in school, and me, I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, they don't coach the squat how I coach it. But then I finally think, I'm like, well, why the hell am I coaching the squat? I was like, you know what? Let's start hammering your hamstrings, working on single leg work, working the prowler. Let's start doing things. I took my ego out of it and started inputting things that these kids aren't getting.
Correct.
Let the school let them have the back squat, let them have the clean, let them have the bench. We're going to do, I even went to old school body, for upper body, old school bodybuilding, man.
Yeah.
We'll do a lot of dumbbell bench press, pauses, like just 45-second sets, because that's all they need for their upper body, man.
Dude.
That's all they need. They just lack some muscle mass, and I see them, they'll get stronger. And I just try to tell them, look, when you're in school, don't do the traditional just bounce bench, really have integrity with the way you do things, and that'll bleed off to the other players, hopefully. So.
What, has the football coach reached out to you ever or no?
Yeah, it's funny because he reached out. I'm surrounded by 3 different schools. One of them reached out the other day because they can't practice. Somebody COVID, so they shut down practice. And I was like, hey, man, I just want to see y'all win. I'll do a discount for all the players. But I think there's still some of that ego. I got the basketball team of the school. And I've talked with the strength coach there. I'll send them stuff, just simple stuff. Listen, put a system in place for freshmen. Freshmen, nobody can touch a barbell until you can do a 100-pound dumbbell goblet squat for 15, 20 reps.
Dude, we're on the same.
And they learn full foot pressure, but why slam this bar on every kid's back? And I get more out of, we'll goblet squat and trap bar deadlift them. And then, hey, by their 10th grade year, okay, you can start front squatting. And maybe every back squat them. Maybe some earn the right. I've just went towards, look, when I first opened, I was I was a low bar back squat guy, and I've just evolved. I believe certain people, that back squat's beautiful for you. This front squat's good for you. Let's just get a good quality squat and let's train it. Let's ditch what's no good, Yeah. I don't. 9 times out of 10, you put the ball on their back and it looks like crap.
Dude, I know. But what you were saying about this system for freshmen, I had the same thing at the high schools. I said, if you want to touch the bar when you bench, you have to dumbbell bench 50 pounds for 10 reps. Then we could bench. Yeah. If you want a back squat, it's a 100-pound goblet squat for 10 reps. If you weigh over 175, if you're under 175, it's a 75-pound dumbbell for 10 reps. And then it's when you're teaching them, hey, guys, we're having the bar on the back, and now it's the same thing. You're pushing your butt back, and you're squatting low, and you have your posture up. So the teaching is easier. Let's back up a little bit. How long have you had your gym? And tell people, for the listeners, what's the name of your gym, which is also your Instagram handle?
Sure. It's M3 Strength and Conditioning. We're located in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. We were established in 2016, and I started out inside of a small cheerleading gym. Well, really, I started out a little bit about myself, just so the listeners know. I did 9 years in federal prison for conspiracy to distribute marijuana, and while I was in there, I kind of went on this 9-year study on myself on different training models. For example, my first 4.5 years, all I had was calisthenics, and I didn't have access to any weights.
Where were you, in Florida?
No, I went to a place, Yazoo City, Mississippi. I was in the federal system, so I started there for 4.5 years, where we only did calisthenics, and then I went down to Coleman, Florida, and then I ended up at a work camp for 4 years, where fortunately my last 4 years I got to a weight pile. And basically on the federal prison, what happened is in 1996, they came out with the Zimmerman Act, and the Zimmerman Act said, hey, we're no longer going to fund any weights for federal prisons. But what we're going to do is we're going to grandfather them in. We're going to leave them. And as equipment breaks, you're not allowed to fix it. It's got to get pulled out. So my last 4.5 years, I was able to get to a spot with weights, but I always saw like just basic calisthenics, push-ups, pull-ups, a bunch of body weight stuff. And I always liked the way that I felt, but I always knew that like I lacked the real force production component. Like I always was like, man, if you could put a deadlift before all these plyometric, different jumping lunges and different things that we're doing in there, like this would be a way better, well-rounded program. And but I never had, like you get people whenever they're training, they kind of drink the juice of whatever they're doing. Oh, this is the end all be all.
Right.
Saw things a lot different. And then whenever I got to the weight pile, I went back to, traditional bodybuilding, got into the powerlifting, the power building concept, and even did some CrossFit competitions in prison. And I kind of came up with my own little training style, which, what I felt was like kind of based on what like the prisoner, he needs to have a gas tank. He needs to be physically fit because his life can depend on his fitness. And at the same time, he wants to look good for when he comes home. He lost everything, he needs to look good for a job interview, or he lost his wife, get back out there. And so I started experiment with like different training styles. And I really just at the time liked the power building concept with like more calisthenic finishers to kind of keep you for your heart,
Yes.
keep you in shape. And I like sprinting, just sprint, jumping, throwing, just staying athletic in some form. And I felt like a lot of the inmates loved it. And I was able to experiment on a lot of inmates. So when I came home, I thought exactly what you were saying. I thought I was a big fish in a small pond because my last 4.5 years, I was in a low-level work camp where I was around like doctors, lawyers, guys that extremely smart, like Wesley Snipes' attorney, just like people. And these guys taught classes, and I taught wellness and nutrition classes with them. And they were basically like, look, man, you studied, you got certified as a trainer, a specialist in strength and conditioning, a youth fitness trainer, you read all these books, you got all this knowledge. But they're like, if you don't get up and speak it, that's a lack of knowledge there. You got to get up there and speak it. So I started teaching classes with these guys. And lo and behold, I think I'm this big fish in a small pond because I was providing for myself by writing programs for people and helping others with their nutrition, their workout programs. That's how I basically paid for my commissary and everything. And I got out and I couldn't get a job, man. Like I remember going to like this gym, this like 24-hour gym, and the guy like making me take a personality test and looking at the emotions on people's face. And I like 50%. And I remember the guy was like, man, I might be able to help you get a job, like cleaning a welding shop. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, I was like, man, I'll run circles around your trainers. Like, I know, like, I studied all this, like, and I just couldn't get an opportunity. And
how old were you at the time, JP?
when I came home,
Yep.
34. I was 34. I left when I was 26.
And your son was born. Your son was a baby then.
22 months whenever I left. I left my son when I was 20. He was 22 months, and I made it to the halfway house for his 10th birthday. And yeah, it was tough.
The Strong Life podcast, I always ask people about like, what was this toughest thing that you overcame, and how did fitness help you? And by the way, like hearing your story, it depends where people grew up, but my younger brother had been arrested. Then he went to prison, then the 3/4 house, then the halfway house. So like I lived through a lot of this, very similar. He was caught with drugs and, the intent to distribute, but I watched how it affected him. And I remember when he was in prison, like this was so long ago, I was like sending him, ripping out pages from like exercise books, sending it to him. I had like, the guy who was like a big shoot fighter in Japan, Bart Valley Tuda. I had like his shoot fighting book, and I would like pull out pages and send it to my brother and tell him like, in your cell, you should be doing pull-ups and squats, and here's how you throw punches. Because I knew that like, training was so therapeutic. And but obviously for you, I always say, even for like, it gave people like us a life. It saved our lives and it gave us a life. Seems
Man,
like the toughest chills, man. The toughest thing for me hearing this is the time away from your son. Must have crushed you.
that's number one. That's the part right there. That's it, that you never get back. And I'm so fortunate, man. I got blessed to where his mother, I have custody of him now, and I've been able to get out and really make an impact in his life. I mean, all you can do is do everything you can to try to stay in their life. You're sending them letters and trying to do everything you can. That is the part I tell people you can never get back. And right now, I have a 3-year-old right now, so this is new for me because I have a 15-year-old and I have a 3-year-old, and I wasn't there for my first, but and I have that on my conscience as well too. But what's so cool, I will say, you know, when kids by the age of 15, you're not cool anymore. Dad's not cool, but I'm actually pretty cool because, you know, I coach my kid, I coach all of his friends, you know, and it's, he's even told me, he's like, Dad, man, I don't know what I'd do without all this. Like, you know, he's extremely strong for his age and learn. I just try to teach him. I'm like, listen, of course, I know you want to play NFL football, but listen, most people don't. But if you make it, you can make it college and you go D1, D2, pay for your education, and this work ethic transfers over into everyday life. That's what we're trying to teach these kids, is this work ethic transfers into everyday life.
Yeah.
Get out what you put in, you know, but
100%.
I'd probably say the working out in prison gave me an outlet. That was the one thing they couldn't take from me that made me feel good each day. And I get it with my clients that come in from regular, just general fitness people who are real estate agents, doctors, lawyers. Like they might be going through something in their personal life, but if I can give them out an hour, something for the mindset, like nobody talks about that. Everybody talks about, they argue online about programming and all this stuff, and they make everything complicated, but everybody's forgot, man, most people just need this for their mindset to go out and conquer the world.
Yeah. Well, also now, speaking of mindset, Florida opened up early with COVID. Then I think like they're starting to shut things down. And, you know, up here, they're kind of like tightening it up even more. Our governor's pretty crazy. How have you been able to keep your gym? What did you do when the gym was closed down for, I don't know, 2 months or so down there?
So what I did, we just automatically took action. I set up a Facebook page. I handed out one dumbbell that I felt you could overhead press strict for 5 reps. Because I said, if you press it for 5 reps, you could do anything with it. You could squat it, clean it, snatch it, row it. So I gave everybody a dumbbell, a med ball, and I tried to give out a band to everybody. And I said, hey, set up a virtual page. And every day I'd come in, shoot the content for a workout, explain it, and just, we had about, I don't know, I think we had like 150 people in the group, and they carried us for like, I think it was 57 or 62 days or something, and just tried to create that camaraderie, get people to post their workouts, post their vids, and then some people would meet up in their driveway. Like we'd have like a group of like 3 people, and that was basically all we could do was, and I kept a couple personal training clients. I'd go to their houses and stuff like that, but it worked out well. And I'm kind of trying to get ready to go back to that because I'm looking at what's going down in Miami. And I was talking with my coaches today. I was like, hey guys, we got to be ready. We sent out an email too saying, hey, look, if you were in contact with somebody, please don't come in right now. You got to think about everybody. So I'm back and forth, man. I'm kind of going crazy. I'm scattered brain right now with it, but all we can do is do the best we can.
Yeah, I think also like with you have such great stuff. You got to get your, take when if there is a second wave and we're shut down, you got to write a book or do something with this knowledge that you have. How long have you guys been open? It looks like you're on like there's tennis courts, or are you part of a tennis facility? Or
you would love this facility. I don't know if I could. Can I turn the camera around and give you a tour of it?
Yeah, because I'll try to post the video on YouTube if I could download it.
Okay, I think if I press this, I'm gonna turn it around. Let me see.
Yep,
all right.
It around.
Okay,
Nice.
so this is pretty cool. So I started out in a cheerleading gym, but we outgrew 2 different places, and this is I rent it from the city, and basically my members kind of got me in this place. But this right here is kind of, we call this our personal training area.
Yep.
In here, got the dumbbells, belt squat, leg press, squat rack in there. And anyways, United States Tennis Association, they're in the office next door. But this is what's pretty cool. Right here we'll run. We got enough to set up for 5 stations for people to squat, bench, deadlift.
Yeah, that area, I always see it like, you seem like you have a pretty large number of athletes in each group. What's the average group size?
On average, I might say probably 12, but I've done classes up to like 25. So here we go outside right here, coming out of the building outside. There's the tennis courts.
Yes.
The pickleball courts. So right here, we got our pull-up bars and dip bars out here.
Who built that? Was that there?
I did.
All those playground?
Yeah, we built this just kind of, and we built some push-up progression bars.
I love it. I will, for people listening, I'm gonna link up and embed your Instagram videos. I don't know if you have YouTube videos, but I saw your guys doing ISO, like split squat ISO deads, through those, I guess what you had initially for push-ups, and then you go into a jump exercise. I mean, I love what you're doing. I think it's just perfect for athletes.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'd say, man, I wish I knew about the isometrics when I was powerlifting, and I try to tell some of these guys for your knees. I mean, they've just done wonders for my tendons. Right. I had this building put up right here, and we had this turf slam down.
Who did that? So you paid for it, or the township?
Yep, I did. I added it on for the facility right here. I added this building on and the turf.
So that's that's a pole barn, right?
Yeah, it's just basically like a roll-up door right there. And out here is where we basically do like our any of our speed work or our power work, and then we have a full body fitness class right here. We actually have a CrossFit class. This right here is Mike. He's a grid athlete. Remember the video of the guy doing the like 75-pound dumbbell pistol squat?
I watched it, and then I was depressed after seeing how weak he made
me
feel.
He's a freak. So this is just like our little.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So he runs a CrossFit class we do a CrossFit class at 4:30. And basically I have here, I'll turn this back around. Oh yeah, I didn't even show you. So here's our handball court. We do like our med ball work.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah.
So
over there's a great med ball work. The challenges my facility creates is the weather. So like the programming, always, like I have my system in place, but you always got, and as well, you got to be ready to plug and play based off how athletes are feeling. You're looking at them, and then I'm plugging and playing off the weather. So
does it rain? I mean, I know in Boca it rains like always at lunchtime.
Man, all the time. Like my life revolves around. I write programming I got a full body fitness class that we do. We have 3 classes a day, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and 6 p.m. And it's basically no barbells. It's done out there. And I just basically took like Dan John's concept, push, pull, squat, hinge. He says carry, I say locomotion. Every workout's a full body stimulus. We don't do it with barbells. It's kettlebells, dumbbells, a lot of calisthenics, sleds, some med ball throws. And I just believe for the general public, that's kind of my bread and butter.
I love it.
I do that. Like this morning's workout was as simple as, if me and you are a partner, you're doing a 100-meter sled drag, backward sled drag, and I'm doing 10 pull-ups, 15 dips, and 10 goblet squat cleans. And we just back and forth, 6 rounds, a little bit of core work at the end. And it's just
tough.
It's just basic, and it works. And this is what most people like. And I've had a lot of people who come from other CrossFit gyms, people that are in their 30s, their 40s, and they're just like, we just like this a lot better. It's not as technical. So I have that class. I have a power building barbell class, which just does bench, squat, deadlift, overhead press, and then
Who's that for? What age group is that involved with?
all ages, all ages. I got a core probably when I first started. I was overzealous lifter, and I still have that core here. But we've won. Like I got one or two people have a state record. Like if you look on my Instagram, I did probably about 6 months ago, 5-6 months ago before COVID, right before the COVID hit, we had like 6 first places. So, and it's basic. The power building group, I always say we do the most with the least. It's no band, a big lift, and then coming back with like the accessory works a lot of body weight, dumbbell, kettlebell, and TRX suspension, stuff like that. I have that group, which we have a group for that every 8 a.m. and then 5:30 p.m. I write the programming for that. And then we have our athletes Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. And then that kid, he runs the CrossFit class. So we've got kind of like everything. And then we do a boatload of personal training. And I kind of created this niche. I call it personal assistance training. So it's basically where the client agrees to get personal training for half the price in exchange of letting the trainer multitask up to 3 others. So it's a way that a trainer can make good money, and it's a way that the client can get a discount on personal training. But they've got to own that they know the trainer is going to be multitasking up to 3 people.
Yeah,
you know, really well. So
yeah, semi-private.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I think that's more fun because I could, as an adult, I want to converse with people a little bit in between. Like one-on-one sometimes could be a drag, man.
More therapy.
I don't want to do one-on-ones. I love groups.
Right, me too. I thrive on coaching the groups. Unfortunately, I always tell people, like, I got to feed my family. That comes first, so I take on some one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Time I start feeling, I'm like, nah, let me get back to, I really thrive off. I like writing programming. I always tell people all the time, people talk bad about people's program. I'm like, listen, you don't know that person's facility. You don't know how that person's layout works. I mean, you can make a mistake in this facility. Listen, when I first started my full body fitness, I had 24 people in a full body fitness class right here, 12 people in a power building barbell inside. And if I made the mistake of programming something to somebody getting on the ground, I was in trouble. Like, I put myself in situation, but I know my facility, and that's what I had to do to grow. And then I was able to buy the building, and then that'll leave. So I don't know. I love like that hustle and just like, all right, I want to put together something that's based on what I believe, but also it has to work for my facility at the same time.
Yes, certain things, like I have 2 facilities. My one facility is 960 square feet. Then we have the outdoor space, but up here in the winter, like, look, I don't care. It's okay to go out and do a sled for 3 sets. It takes you 1 minute. No big deal. But raining, or then rain, then it freezes. Now I got ice out there. So the programming is a little different at my one location that you see me training out of with the indoor turf. And you're right. Like, Buddy Morris said it long ago to me. He goes, Zach, every program is going to be in some shape or form incomplete and imperfect. It's the way it is. He goes, but be ready to change on the fly. Be ready to erase and rewrite things according to, how you see stuff. And so it rains. Does it rain daily where you are? Because you're the Panhandle.
Yeah, all the time. So it'll go, like, you'll look at it and you're like, oh man, there's 5 beautiful days. Don't have to worry about anything. Then it'll just hit you like 7 days, showering all over the place. So I'm always looking like 5-6 days ahead. Hey,
yes,
work inside here, getting ready for, it's going to be nice weather out there. We'll do more work there. But I got to be honest with you. I say, just like, my success has just been on simply getting guys stronger. Now we're able to experiment with doing more speed work, more plyometric work outside. For the most athletes, most of them just need a good, I always like what Fred Hatfield says, can't shoot a cannon out of a canoe.
Yeah. Well,
It,
let-
go ahead.
seeing, watching your videos. So like today we did front squats, and I got to tell you, as a coach, like the toughest part I got to explain to kids is like, guys, front squats are so hard to get this mobility. So I go on day one, I steal it from Dave Tate. You're shit.
Yeah.
Then maybe a couple sessions later, you suck. And then a few sessions later, you're crap. So it's going to take like 2 weeks to go from shit to crap.
Right.
And then in a month, we're going to have a good front squat. But that's where they struggle, is the first few sessions of elbows up. And I tell them, nobody in this room is tighter and more locked up and beat up than me. So if I could do this, you can do it. But talk to me about everybody that I see front squatting with you looks great. What's some tricks with progressions and mobility that you incorporate to make the teaching flow and get them to kind of master the technique faster?
Completely honest with you, I truly think it's doing the pattern, making them get their keep the elbows up, drive the elbows up as you're squatting has been the biggest thing. I always tell them, you're going to cry, you're going to complain, you're going to hate the way your wrists, your fingers feel after the first time doing it. Get your elbows up and do it. I can't say that I've done a whole bunch of tricky stuff with mobility. We will insert certain things while they're in their goblet squats, sometimes progression, or make them practice with the bar while they're doing goblet squats with the dumbbells.
I like that.
But I cannot say I am a big proponent of front squats, because there's times I look around and I'm just like, when they're front squat, they hit better depth, the posture's taller, it's more of a squat pattern. When I see a lot of times they go to the back squat, it just turns more into a hinge pattern. So many times I see this and I look around, even in my power building group, I'm like, geez, when y'all front squat, you guys get such depth. And I just believe it's a nice general preparatory period to strengthen up the anterior chain for the back squat. I think, and are you still there?
Yeah, whoops, I just flipped this around. Hold on. There we go. My bad.
So what I like to do with athletes is my main lifts, I would say, for lower body is front squats, trap bar deadlifts, and I like a 20-meter heavy prowler push. Those are probably my three favorite that I lean towards, like heavy 20-meter prowler push. And I just think I'll probably say for upper body, of course, I try to go pause bench press.
It's great.
Come in on my back. Okay. I go bench press or dumbbell bench press and overhead press or floor press. And I like a lot of dumbbells because I want to give them a different stimulus they're not getting in school. And I just approach the upper body like bodybuilding, man.
Yes. Jim Wendler says that. He goes, you power lift the lower, you body build the upper, and tends to be like, also, I saw you doing like cluster work. I think that's a little more friendly on the joints than people who are chasing heavy triples, heavy doubles, where I could hit like 75 to 80%, nice clean reps. Because you know what I remember, JP? I'm a little older than you, but we kind of grew up in that same era where when you would go to a gym, the guys would mentor you. You know, now today everybody has AirPods in the gym. You don't develop relations, but I remember the strongest guys with the bench, they were never like grinding and doing forced reps. It just looked beautiful, clean reps. And so they didn't know it, and I didn't know, but they were doing cluster work. They'd work up to like 85%, and they would do a lot of triples, then some fives, but it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
It didn't look, it wasn't a mess. Now, let me ask you a question, because so we trained this morning. I'm going to go back. We have a 4, 5, 6 group. When you're teaching kids the front squat and it's looking like shit, so we're doing clusters. We're doing like 8 sets of 2 to 4. Do you take a new guy and say, all right, you're front squatting 55, 65 pounds. Now, like, you're going to do 3 reps there, and then we're coupling with jumps. Do you ever say, hey, man, every other set, just sneak in 5, medium, 5 heavy reps of a goblet squat to stimulate the legs while they learn this? You ever do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm probably going to do that today.
Absolutely. Like we'll goblet squat them and then just have them insert here and there. Maybe it's every other set, a set with the bar.
I like it.
I like for people to master full foot pressure, heel, big toe, pinky. I want to look at your foot. I want to see it evenly plastered into the ground throughout the entire squat. I want you to use everything. And I think, crap, man, you can build some muscle and do these things with goblet squats. And another thing you could try doing too to challenge them is 2 dumbbells in this position here. That challenges them as well to keep them nice upright before you go to the barbell. I've been playing with that a lot lately too. That's a little bit of a different animal. Than it's a little bit challenging to take 2 50-pound dumbbells, put them here rather than hold a 100-pound dumbbell here.
Oh, big time. I never did that. A kid today who struggled, I said, look, he's got a pair of 10-pound dumbbells at home. I said, put them on the shoulders and squat so you learn to have your upper body. But kids are so tight today that, like, when they try to front squat, and one of my coaches, Michael, hopped on. Michael's like a real solid weightlifter. He understands the mobility. Dude, when I see them, like, try to front, it's like they cannot get their elbows up. You know, their T-spine is so tight. Then they can't squat. And it's just like, I tell them, man, guys, it's shit today. We got to get through this.
Yeah.
It's going to get better. I almost feel like as a coach for you want them to just move the weight that, like, I've been guilty of just saying, fuck this front squat. I can't even take how shitty it looks anymore. And we got to go. We're just going to back squat or kettlebell squat. But I often just remind myself, that's not how a kid's going to get better. You got to get their mobility and flexibility working.
Yeah.
I
always tell people too, I borrow this from Dan John too, a nice deep goblet squat and overload the trap bar, overload the hinge pattern. I mean, if you get a kid goblet squat and pause 10 reps, 100-pound dumbbell, and he's getting stronger on the trap bar, you know, and then worst case, I mean, you can always go to, if you need to go to the California style, of course, you're not getting the catch phase for the clean, but
I feel like this is, I don't want to say it's like so crucial, but like if you can't do this and squat, then it's telling me like your ankles, it's really pinpointing all these weak mobility issues on you.
Yeah.
And so Built in Boston, my man Built in Boston saying body weight, comma, goblet, then front squat. Yeah, body weight squat. You know, look, sometimes kids, they look so bad even doing a goblet squat that all I do is lunge them, because I use the lunge as like a strength stretching exercise to get the hips working. So I'm okay with that.
I would definitely kick in those. One thing that I do with all the kids, we do the extreme isometrics in our warm up. And basically what we do is 1 minute. We'll do 1 minute. Basically what I'll do is I'll try to demonstrate right here, but we'll go 1 minute on each leg. And basically they have to sustain this position right here for a minute. And once they can do that, then I'll go 10 seconds lifting the heel up and pulling the earth in between them, and then down, relax. And what I find, you get more pliable. It's like a contract, relax method, and then lift the heel up and pull the earth in between you again. So I'll go 3 10-second sets. That takes.
Interesting. What's the, I never heard that. So the pull the earth between is working their adductors?
Oh, like crazy. Hamstring, glute, everything.
Yep. I've done the active foot. What about when I see, it looked like you had guys kind of go underneath the pins to do like an iso front squat. Is that what you're doing?
Well, no, training the foot. That was on their back. I think you might have saw them do.
Okay, on their back.
Under the pins, training the gastroc. Yeah, so I'm always looking at ways. Every one of these kids, if you talk to them, like they all had like, they sprained their ankle or something. And I didn't know anything about the foot until I had my son working with a track and field coach. And he kept saying to me, he's like, man, you need to start training your calves. You need to start training your calves. You need to start working your anterior tibialis. And I didn't realize my son's ankles just weren't firing. And I started seeing a lot of results from us just doing basic calf raises, pogos, things of that nature, anterior tibialis wall raises. And I mean, not only it's helped, one thing that trains the foot is like a 20-meter heavy prowler push, and that horizontal force vector. More, you don't really get that type stuff in the squat. Everything.
What about jumping rope? You know, like with your
Awesome.
experience in the, you know, all those, you know, you spent how many years in prison? 4 years?
Absolutely, yeah, 9.
Not 9 years. So
Yeah.
did anybody mentor you in there with any fitness or training?
No, just the books I studied. I came across your book, Josh Bryant's Power Building Basics. I'll tell you just some couple books. Dan John, Easy Strength, yours.
I love that book.
Yeah, Josh Bryant's Power Building Basics, the one he wrote with the owner of Metroflex.
Metroflex.
I would say, I don't know if this was a Mark's book that I came across, but it was by Mark Twight, the owner of Jim Jones Foundation. And it was a marked book that had like, oh man, it just changed. It changed my outlook on training for rather than training for aesthetics, but training for this guy, mountain climbers. It's a marked book that was in paper that I came across, but they did like a study on CrossFit and what they thought was wrong with it. They felt the workouts were too short.
Was it the Dark Horse program with all the special operators?
I know it was based around training special operators, but it starts off talking about like, if you think you have what it takes, come step on our porch. You might get in here and in 3 days you might
still have it.
Hours. I think I know a guy.
I'll send Mark a message. But I know I did pick up a book, man, probably 10 years ago with the it was basically a group of like probably MARSOC guys. So it's a blend of like Rangers, Delta. People might be able to find it for free.
Oh yeah.
But it was called like it was called the 4 Horsemen workout. So people listening, see, I like to sneak these things in, JP, to see who's listening, who's going to take action. It's called the 4 Horsemen. I mean, it was crazy early days CrossFit. I don't think it was the training would really beat the crap out of you. That would be the issue with that training.
When I first went in, I was reading these articles, and it was just basically like guys in warehouses doing calisthenics, hand over hand sled rope pulls, and like a lot of what I like to do now.
I always say, I loved early days CrossFit because it was simple. And it wasn't like so crazy. It was tough, but not crazy stupid. I'll have to I'll find it and get it to you, and I'll reach out to Mark and see if I could find that book that he's talking about. He probably forgets what it actually is. He's done so many books. Yeah.
Have you interviewed with him before?
No, I don't know if he would do an interview with me. I mean, we're not buddies. I've chatted and exchanged messages with him. You know, and he stepped away from Jim Jones is not even it's not even his. And you know, I'm like that too. Like I'm such a purist, and I could see that once he saw that his baby was getting commercialized, it like breaks your heart. Look, man, like, you know, I struggle with that stuff with my gym too, but you and we have family, and I'm not saying we sell out, but you know, if I was really like those early days, like training people out of you know, the way they did it was, you know, was very Fight Club-esque, and now today I don't even know if they have too many classes there. I think it's pretty much seminars, and local people don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
They don't know Jim Jones.
I'll tell you what, I read this article. Jim Windler actually wrote this article years ago, and I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called "Don't Quit Your Day Job."
Oh, I was just watching his video. So he spoke at Ripeto's thing, and he shared like his whole business philosophy. And so some of the videos he shared, one was from the old surf guitarist Dick Dale, and Dick Dale's a musician, and if you'd have to, I'll link it, I'll embed it on the blog post when I write this up. But I actually just shared it with my I have like a business coaching group called the Strong Life Brotherhood. I shared it with them, and Dick Dale basically said, don't let other people publish your records, self-publish everything, learn to market yourself, sell it all out of the back of your car. He goes, because if you go to a record deal, you're maybe going to get like 5 or 10%. And I think he mentioned something like the Beatles don't even own their own music. And so he said, you want to own your own shit. And you want to know when that hit me, and I'll say it like, my book publisher has really struggled to pay on time. And it's like, dude, that's my life's work. But somebody else owns the rights to the book. So then you got to get a lawyer. So he was saying like one of his favorite bands, it's like a death metal band. He's like, the guy's like a post office worker. He's like, but he has that job. So nobody could ever tell him how to make his music. For me, pretty much since 2010, 2009, I left teaching. But then around 2014, I got my first university coaching job. And it was interesting because it was like, okay, you have this daytime coaching job, and now nobody could tell you how to run the gym business or the online business. Like when I write, I don't want to write like these specific SEO words. I kind of want to write stuff that doesn't have to do with that. And so when you have this like outside income, it changes the way I look at how to run my business.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'll get there. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So listen, my man, I know like we went almost an hour. We'll definitely crush a part 2. This has been very cool.
Sure.
Right now, I know people could follow you on Instagram, M3 Strength and Conditioning. So the letter M, the number 3, Strength and Conditioning. How else can people reach out to you, connect with you, and learn from you?
Sure. You can email me 580deadlift@gmail.com. Old email from years ago, douchebag email. I was over the crowd. But yeah, you could reach me there or my Instagram, or you can go to our website, m3strengthandconditioning.com.
You're in Fort Walton Beach, Florida?
Yes, sir. Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
That's considered the Panhandle, right? Panhandle area?
Yeah, that's
cool.
right.
Yep. So it's interesting. Here and there, people who follow us online come to the gym, or usually it's like not that common. But man, JP, I think you should like my rule. I'm like writing another book now. Is like every day I just got to write 2 pages. So I think that's what you should do. Is like every day, 2 pages, and because it's just inspiring. I mean, you had this tough time in your life. You're locked up, for 9 years, and now you've got this great business. And I'm not talking about just great financial, but you're doing things for people. You're changing lives, and I don't think enough coaches understand that. That is the ticket.
Yeah.
With this whole coaching gig is like, I tell them, I go, the minimum effective dose is changing lives. And, I see you doing that. Like success is no accident. There's no way you're going to have a pumping gym unless you're, a lot of people are teaching people how to get strong, but it's evident you're doing more.
Hey, I appreciate that. It wasn't easy, but it seems like every year it gets better and better the more we keep going. So
good. Well, you've earned it. You've earned it, my man. So I'm looking forward to
honored to be a guest on here as well too. I appreciate get on here with the OG, because if it wasn't for guys like you, I might not have a gym like this.
Damn, that's like when people say that to me, like gets me in the heart. It does. It's like, damn, dude.
Honestly, it's true.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much, man. It's you hear people joking, they're like, it's for the kids. Man, kids today need this. They not only need the mentorship, they need to learn to struggle. They need to learn what it takes. It's going to take time to turn the corner. Like, listen, man, these push-ups are going to be very hard, but in 2 weeks, they're not going to be. And like, all right, you're benching 55 pounds today. Some of the kids I train, and now you're seeing it too, you start training them when they're like 85 pounds. Now they're 185.
Right.
And you're like, dude, I've been with this kid and he's gained more than half what he used to weigh.
Wow, it's crazy.
You
Yeah,
know, and so you start like, and you realize parents start reaching out to you, telling you about the little things, like, hey, you
absolutely.
know, he makes his bed every morning, or I took him to the bank to open up a bank account, and he was looking the clerk in her eye, and he could have a good conversation, and he seemed confident. And then you realize, man, like, we're using all of this as a vehicle. Like you were
Yeah,
talking about the college stuff for your son. Your son will play sports in college. If he doesn't make it in the NFL, he will have gone into a college and built a network of people, and then the donors, and he'll but it all the whole foundation of learning how to speak to people and be amongst the group starts at M.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's been awesome, especially the COVID thing, because we've had a couple like NFL athletes train in here. And I believe like most people would be like, oh, we need to separate. Nah, I want them with the kids. I want the kids
yeah,
to be with them and see that.
and they love it. They must love being around the kids, right?
And they go crazy. Yeah, they think it's cool. Or they'll go back. For example, we had Terrence Brooks. He's a safety for the New England Patriots, and I threw him in with some of the lateral speed mechanic work we were doing on the turf with the basketball team, and they didn't even know who he was till afterwards. They found out. They were the whole team. They're like, "Oh my goodness!" But yeah, I'm very passionate about it. Sometimes I do this and I look back. I'm like, man, if I would have had this when I was growing up, and if I would have known like certain things, I try to talk to these kids about just little things. Hey, man, you guys, what do you mean? So, like, I get into what do you mean so and so is hollering at so and so's girlfriend? You're not supposed to do that. Like, come on, like, try to teach these young men to be men, you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. We're creating what we wish we had, what
absolutely.
could have, changed our direction. And so many parents say the same. Like, I wish I had this when I was a kid. Let me ask you a quick question, JP.
Sure.
You're mentioning speed work. Have you gone to a certain resource, or how did you? What speed
So
work
I
is
say I'm
tricky.
in the middle phases. I mean, I went to Joe DeFranco and Schmitty Diesel CPPS cert, and they touched on it a little bit. But I've been fortunate to be friends with a track and field coach here, who he's a real disciple of. The guy's name's Adarian Barr, who a lot of people
Yes, yes.
know.
Who do you call it mentions him? Jake Tura mentions him a
Or,
lot. I forget
um,
what his handle is on Instagram.
Yeah, I believe it's bar running or
Yeah,
something of that nature. But I also have a guy who just came in who started working here with me, who's kind of coaching me up as he started implementing with my kids. Who he was a big disciple of Lee Taft,
yeah,
and
Lee is great. I've known Lee for about 18 years.
yeah, so he's been implementing. But for me, for the longest in my area, there's a guy who's been around for 15 years who coaches speed, and it was just kind of a known rule. Hey, you go to him for your speed work, come here for your strength
Yeah,
conditioning, and it's always worked well like that. But not all the kids go to him, and then he's more linear speed. So we're doing more deceleration,
good.
lateral,
Yeah,
that learning how
okay.
to hips, and that's what I feel's missing. So I know that majority of those kids are going to him, so we don't do a lot of linear speed.
Yeah,
But
you fill in the blanks.
look, this is just what I feel. I feel I don't see enough movements that implement jumping with running. I don't that combine them both. I
Dude,
don't see
yeah,
that enough lateral work, getting the hips flipped. I don't see enough deceleration work. So, and my guy, he takes note on that, and so he's kind of coaching me up, and I'm learning as we
yeah,
go. And we basically insert in our general warm up after we do our ISOs, after we do our general warm up,
yeah.
our ISOs, we go out on the turf and we allot about 20 minutes to it.
I'm the same. All right, so listen, Instagram giving me like a 55-second countdown.
Okay.
So I'm with you, JP, with that. It's like you warm them up, then you get the speed, the agility, then the big weights. All right, so M3 Strength and Conditioning on Instagram. I mean, yeah, M3 Strength, and they should just message you through Instagram. And I'm going to embed your videos over on my website for this episode. I think we're at 240 or 241. JP, you're the man. Yo, it's been great. Much respect, my man.
Bad respect for you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon, JP. Bye, everybody.